going to jump on to topic 3. We've around half an hour left before the webinar is complete. And this one is connecting beneficiaries to services and measuring impact in the new normal. So this is a hot topic at the minute. So I'm delighted to say that popped up there is Jennifer Neff, co-founder of Elemental Software, which is a digital social prescribing platform, and Kathy Conley, also, who is CEO at Care Merseyside. It's a social prescribing charity based in Liverpool. Kathy, Jennifer, hello. Have you enjoyed it so far?
Can you hear me?
Fantastic.
We can.
Oh, good.
We can indeed. Yeah. We can indeed. We did a run through for people that are not quite familiar. We did a run through yesterday, and Kathy had 2 dogs running about in the background, but no dogs today.
No, I've just threw them out in the back garden for an hour.
Brilliant. Well, listen, I'm going to pass it over to you, Jennifer and Kathy, and just let everybody know, throw in your questions. If anything perks up your interest, feel free to do so, add it in, and at the very end, we'll afford some time to put some of those questions to both Jennifer and Kathy. But if you both are happy enough, I'll let you tear away, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.
So just to introduce myself, my name's Kathy Conley and I'm from Belfast, but I actually have lived in Liverpool for 20 years. And I did start my working life in the community and voluntary sector in Belfast. And then when I moved to Liverpool, I became a teacher, left that and went back to community and voluntary about 4 years ago, and have been part of driving forward a charity called Care Merseyside, which is the first of its kind, in that it was originally a UK GP funded charity, but since our initial pilot, we were able to attract and achieve lottery funding and funding from other organisations over the past 18 months.
And my name is Jennifer Neff. I'm the co-founder, co-CEO of Elemental. And what's special about what we do is that Leanne, Monk and I, our background is community development workers. So, but we have a software company, and back in the early days, people used to say, what do community development workers know about software? And more recently, I was at an event and someone says, what does a software company know about community development? And the person was disgusted when they saw I was there. But I said, I take that as a huge compliment, because we know a lot. And sometimes the digital side of things can be it can be a lot for people to take in. So this session today is about making it really practical and helping you to see that it's not as scary as what you think. We've made it really, really simple to use. Kathy's going to show you how she's developed a model, and digital is at the core of driving that model, but you wouldn't think it because it's still very much face-to-face. It's human interaction, and it's all those great things that we love about community development. So today is a really practical session. Hopefully you'll learn a bit that you didn't know before, and there's a follow-up that we can do afterwards, but we're really looking forward to sharing our story with you today and showing you the great things that are happening in Knowsley. So over to you.
Okay, so first of all, I'm going to talk about how we actually embedded digital into our charity. Our charity is primarily based on the concept of social prescribing, and social prescribing means it has a healthcare element involved, whereby a professional, either a doctor or a clinician or even someone that's an administrative support within healthcare, will make a referral to us with the aim that medication or prescription medication is kind of avoided, and a holistic welfare approach is used as an alternative. It also is with a view to diverting unnecessary traffic to GPs and GP surgeries, whereby people are kind of going to the wrong place, looking for help in the wrong way. And it is to alleviate pressure mainly on the NHS and to provide solutions in a gap that has basically presented itself through the past 10 years as a result of austerity. And the charity that I run was set up in 2009, but we have driven forward a digital solution since 2018. So 2 years we've been using a digital platform. So basically, the challenge that we faced at the time was we knew that we were going to get referrals from GPs and the wider community, by the way, but it was very paper based, and we wanted to find something that was more straightforward, less administrative, and where we could also demonstrate the impact that we were having without having to do too many surveys, paper-based tasks, and trying to track attendance, which, as many of you will know, is a nightmare. When I took over Driving Forward the charity as an ex-teacher, when I was developing this model, I wanted to kind of look upon the patients who would become our clients as like pupils, and that what we would offer them would be a broad and wide curriculum of services that would help support them reach fulfillment, self-actualization according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but the premise is that at a pyramid, an individual should try and be a fulfilled and self-actualized human, but they can't become one if at the bottom of that pyramid, things such as food, shelter, job, relationships, and all of those other things that allow for a person to become stable, housing, were not there. So for example, if someone was going to a doctor and they said they were in debt and that they actually felt suicidal because they were about to lose their home, me or any of the link workers that work for us offering them to join a yoga class wouldn't have been appropriate. So we needed to make sure that we hosted our asset, mapped out any assets available within our community that provided those services. When I was looking into how we could do that, I researched social prescribing and discovered that these two girls in Derry had actually come up with a platform that would directly plug into the NHS and then allow any referrals and all of the information, bar any medical unnecessary information that we needed, to come over to us as a hub, a digital hub, and then would allow us to contact that person, take starting point scores using tools that we selected when we built our model up, such as WemWebs and GAD7, and then would allow us to show progress after anyone took part in what we call an intervention. And any of those interventions we were able to add to that digital platform, such as a creative writing class, or welfare support, or financial debt support, or food crisis support. Anything that we partnered, anything we delivered ourselves, or any partner organization that was delivering for us, we were able to add to our platform, and basically it produced reports based on the information that we were able to put into it. At the very end of that, I said that we wanted obviously to be able to demonstrate impact to show to funders. But as I was listening to the conversations earlier, funding was not our priority. What we wanted to do was fill gaps and help the community that we were supporting. So we were very fortunate in the sense that over here, primary care health is funded by something called the Clinical Commissioning Group, and at the time they had funding available for digital transformation, and I coaxed and convinced them to buy us the platform, and they did. And we were the pioneering organisation, and the group of GPs that we work with, who had a patient population of 52,000 people, were the partners that we were able to implement this pilot, and the results that we were able to achieve from it were just, they can't be measured because of so many amazing things that has happened as a result of it. But we were able to, I'll show you the model. So if you look in the center here, our model, Care Merseyside, we're a hub, a digital hub, but obviously we're a real organisation that operates from which was a disused community centre. And the whole architecture and structural premise of our working life is based around the use of elemental software. If you look at the top, we have referral sources coming into us, which are primarily GP, other third sector organisations, self-referral, and at the top there we've got an organisation called the Big Help Project, which is also Knowsley Food Bank, and any Knowsley Crisis Emergency Support. The Knowsley Crisis Emergency Support have been added on since COVID-19 happened, and the self-referral tool, which is a digital tool attached to our website, was also something that was an additional tool that we got added during COVID-19. What happens when people refer to us is members of our team assess one-to-one, either over the phone or face-to-face, which hasn't obviously happened recently. And they may have been referred for various reasons, and there's a whole host of those underneath there. And what we do is either we provide interventions or activities for them to join in on, whether it be physical health, walking group, mental health activities, stress management, creative activities such as creative writing or drama. We have our own community food partnership where we offer food under a social enterprise scheme for £3.50 a week to up to 10 items. Social interaction, we've recently, and we already had pre-COVID, being able to, in partnership with Elemental and an apps company called Orca, text and email health apps directly to people who maybe didn't want to come in and join in any activities, but we used it as a first step to giving them some type of support for either their physical or mental health, and obviously employment support as well. You're moving me along quickly there, Jen. I hope that they're understanding this, because obviously it's hard to get that kind of notion or idea of what something looks like whenever we're just talking you through it. But basically, when COVID happened, as a result of us being a digital organisation already, it was very easy for me to make the decision to be able to allow the people who work for us to work from home. We also were able to get emergency funding from the National Lottery to recruit new link workers. We were able to identify right away who our most vulnerable were, because we had all of our information digitally. So we were able to kind of drill down which cohorts we needed to, as part of our 1,500 beneficiaries, get in touch with quickly. And we set up remote interventions. One of them was called Phone a Friend, You'll Never Walk Alone. So basically, we did a shout out to everyone in the community who had been furloughed and felt the need to help other people. And we got a list of volunteers and we added them to our digital system. And then we obviously contacted our most vulnerable over 65s to begin with, to see if they needed help with shopping, if they needed someone to talk to, just to give them a call every couple of days, or if they needed any other further support that we could provide them with remotely, or get them access to some volunteering help within the community. Elemental very kindly allowed us to adopt what was our primarily NHS referral system to a website system. And what they did was they added a self-refer form to our website, which then directly linked to our Elemental Hub, our Care Merseyside Elemental Hub. The GP practices that we worked with and alongside contacted on our behalf their patient population of 52,000 and let them know that if they needed help with welfare support, financial support, isolation, or food, that they could contact our charity. And they sent a text message with a direct link to our self-refer button, and within a matter of 24 hours, as soon as that text message went out, we had 300 self-referrals during that time and continue to do so. And if you look at the breakdown, well, I'm going to go through what, if you look at the breakdown on the reports that we're able to actually just drag up from Elemental based on all the information that's input. During COVID-19, obviously, specifically 155 people referred themselves for that reason, but when we spoke to them, the reasons underneath that all fell under all the other categories that are on that image, which would be loneliness, mental health, welfare support, healthy eating, physical activity. And we were able to kind of produce reports as a result of that, and show what the impact has been, how many people we've helped and supported, and how valuable that support has been to those people. Do you want to, so basically what the pathway would look like for any of our beneficiaries is, in the case of the self-refer, which any community organisation could access, and it could be used as a model for any community organisation who obviously isn't always attached to a health provider, may have good partnerships with the likes of housing associations or local councils. who could send text messages to their stakeholders on behalf of service providers. Beneficiaries are made aware of what the services are, and then they can refer themselves to our service and our partnership services. We would assess what they need, and we would take some preliminary scores. It may be a GAD-7 measure in their levels of anxiety before engaging with us, and then after they've engaged with us, what the benefit of that has been, which then produces mass kind of results on how many people have improved or their anxiety levels have declined as a result of, getting involved in social prescribing or community development, because that's what it is really. And basically, we would then appropriate the correct kind of social prescription to them, which might be, why don't you take part in a walking group? We'll get you connected with some debt management, or would you like to join a nutrition, a low carb life group for diabetics? The kind of list is endless, but we add as many services as possible onto our digital platform for our link workers to be able to attach that social prescription to the individual's case management. And what it does is it basically allows us then to track it, creates class lists, which allows us to track attendance to activities. It allows us to basically, for staff members, allow their case management to be, every time they've contacted someone, it's recorded. It allows them to say whether if they weren't able to contact someone, if they've emailed them, and track all of that work that people do, and also record how long they've actually spent with a person, because it could be from as little as 15 minutes to up to 2 hours that you need to actually speak to an individual. And then ultimately it allows us to say how the health risk has been reduced or their health and well-being has been improved. Do you want to move on there, Jen? I hope I'm not just an example of like what I was talking about there. We had that phone a friend, and one of our volunteers, a guy called Paulo, teamed up with another guy who had just lost 2 dogs, and he was bereaved. And I think it was Andrew talking about grief, which comes in all forms. And this guy wasn't digitally, didn't have any means to apply to adopt a dog, but the volunteer actually filled in a dog's trust form for him. And as a result of him doing that, he was able to help the guy adopt another dog. And that's life changing as far as we could see. So as you can see, the volunteer at the top of the picture, and the 2 dogs in the other picture are the 2 that the guy lost, and the other little one lying on the floor is the one that he got adopted as a result of just basically the phone a friend volunteer. We have a few testimonials there of some of the work that the volunteers, some of the impact it has been on, what the volunteers have got from it as well, because we see volunteering as actually a social prescription. When you help someone else, it helps you, it improves your health and well-being, it makes you feel as if you have a purpose. And it's been extraordinary, some of the stories, which obviously I can't list them all right now here, but obviously you'll know all this yourselves based on the work that you've done in your own community. There's a beneficiary testimonial just saying, what Care Merseyside has helped them achieve. And basically, one of our interventions was a creative writing group in Elemental Software. It's been going on for 2 years. People came and started writing poetry. They were mainly bereaved people, actually. None of them had any previous writing skills. And we decided that we wanted to celebrate that. We wanted to make them feel that not just coming to class meant writing a few things down and sharing it with the group. We wanted to share it with the world. And so we, Elemental kindly sponsored the publication of all of those people's poetry. We've recently produced it, and it's going to be out there soon and shared with as many people as possible. We want the opportunity to have a proper launch so that the people who are involved can do some reading and celebrate it, but it may have to be done in a digital way, and we're very apt and able to do that as well. And here's some of the results and reports that we're able to show to funders and have for ourselves as a result of having the software platform. As you can see, an example of attendance figures, and On the other side, you have an example of how anxiety has been reduced over time. And it's actually reduced visits to the GP as well. And it's built a lot of strong relationships, partnership relationships and collaborative relationships between ourselves, the local community, and obviously local health and authorities.
Thank you, Kathy, that's great.
There you go. Over to you to talk now.
Yeah, no bother. Thank you for that. That's brilliant. In terms of talking about the new normal, I'm sitting here in the house and I've got the laptop on top of the ironing board. So I've got a photograph and I'll put it out later on. It's all about adapting to your environment, doesn't it? So my name is Jennifer. I'm here to chat to you about there's the Elemental platform very much in the background of what Kathy's doing. Still, as Kathy's been able to tell you, all those social interactions and engagements, and digital doesn't have to be the scary thing that everybody thinks it is. It's very much there to enable everything to happen. This is Leanne Monk on the left-hand side and me on the right. And her and I were community development workers, and we were just really frustrated with everything that was involved in terms of community development. We loved it so much, but we knew that, you know, you had to design the program, write the funding application, then you had to recruit the team, then you had to go and promote whatever the services that you're delivering. You have to ensure that you're getting as many people as possible and it's reaching all kind of different parts of the community. And then you have to keep people engaged, and then you have to monitor and measure the output of that. And then you have to prepare reports, and then you have to feed back to funders, and then you have to update them, and then you have to do the process all over again. So Leanne worked in the Healthy Living Centre, and I worked very much in terms of New Deal and digital skills in the community. So very frustrating, as I say. So we thought, look, digital has to have a role to play in this. And we thought, it was way back in 2013, and Sir Ken Robinson came to Derry and he talked about when you're in your element, anything is possible. So we thought, let's help people find their passion. Let's help people. So it was around the time of Match.com. So we said, let's be the Match.com of health improvement. You've got people, and then you've got all these amazing things that are happening in the community, and let's just connect the two together. So this was a photograph of us standing up and pitching at a competition, which was 7 years ago in September, and we thought this was great, and we delivered the pitch, but the judges said, no, sorry, we don't really get what you're doing. So the guy on the surfboard, actually, his idea won. So he won £500, but he came up to us afterwards and he says, look, I think your idea is better than mine, so I'm going to give you the prize money. So that was £500 that got us started, and he's called Professor Maurice Mulvena from Ulster University, so we're always indebted to him. So Elemental got started with just loads of passion, determination, a good idea, and a real want to be able to support more people in the community, and in particular help the community and voluntary sector to demonstrate the impact of what they do. Because a lot of the funders are coming and asking for all sorts of things in terms of what they want you to measure. And it's not, sometimes it's not within your gift to be able to measure that, but sometimes it is. So we wanted to make that whole process easier. So quick summary then, Kathy's covered this already, but we wanted to be able to help you to talk about what's the impact on the person, what's the impact on the community as a result of what you're doing, and what's the impact on the health and social care system. So Elemental is built all around that. So we can show demand for your services. You can say, look, we've got 100 referrals here, but we only have capacity to be able to support 25 people. So a lot of organisations using Elemental help to use the information and the reporting to be able to go back to funders and say, look, this is working, this is making a difference, but we need more money because we need another worker involved here. So it's been helping to lever extra additional funding. During COVID, we went straight away. I think the first person I phoned whenever COVID was breaking was Kathy. And I said, right, Kathy, what are you going to do with Elemental? Tell us how we can help you. And she told me straight away, here's what I'm doing. I'm setting this up. I'm doing that. I'm contacting the most vulnerable because I know I've got 300 people out of the 1,000 that are falling into that vulnerable category. So I'm just going to give them a call straight away. So she was able to easily identify who the vulnerable were. Other people said they've seen an increase in referrals. So some places say our referrals dried up. We're worried now about what funders are going to say. But others said, look, because we'd had all these different referral routes into our services, we were able to prove that that demand was really increasing for our services. And they were able to mobilize their teams as well. So people were using, they had a laptop, they had an iPad, and they were able to work from home. They didn't have to come into a centre to work. So they were able to do that because they had their elemental system. Then people were able to say about self-referral. Kathy's talked about that. That opened up things. People who used to go to the doctor maybe to get a referral, or used to go to their social worker, were able to do a self-referral straight through to link workers. They were able to see the most common reason for referral. So food security was a big one. So you were able to kind of galvanize your support and your teams and your volunteers around that. The landscape changed overnight. So a lot of people who were doing face-to-face then had to deactivate their database of services, you know, all the different face-to-face stuff, but they were able to create a whole new raft of things that weren't face-to-face. It was volunteers, it was food bank support, it was grocery drop-off. All these new innovative things popped up, and they were able to put those on Elemental and be able to make referrals straight through. They were able to remotely train and onboard new staff. So Kathy secured a little bit of funding. She got 2 new members of the team. Elemental has a whole onboarding online learning academy. She was able to do that as part of the induction for those 2 new staff. So they went into training. It's like 7 hours that they do to learn how to use Elemental. And then that meant that they were up and running. So she built in that as part of their training program. Housing associations were still able to provide their services, even though it was COVID had happened as well. So that was good. And then they were able to just take the data and be able to say, right, what's this telling us? You know, it's real-time data every week. What's this telling us about what's happening in our community? Who are we reaching? Who are we not reaching? What's working for people? And really ultimately helping everyone get out up front and ahead of the crisis. So just to draw to a close, Elemental, now to think that we started with £500 back in the Verbal Arts Centre when we pitched that day and on the 18th of September 2013, we're now used by councils, NHS organisations, we're even used in prisons. Community and voluntary sector are big. They often get that funded by maybe others as well. So yeah, the reach is really taken off. Healthy living centres across Northern Ireland are using Elemental, and GP practices are starting to use it as well because they want to better connect in with community and voluntary sector organisations. But the big thing for us is that over 51,000 people are benefiting because of the technology that's helping all these interactions and partnerships to happen. We've crammed everything in here to a short period of time, but we wanted to offer you, if you want to see this in action, if you want to see how Kathy set up her model, if you want to see how she uses Elemental, we'd love to invite you on Wednesday the 28th, so next Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and we'd have a dedicated hour and we could take any questions that you have. So it's an invite only session, so all you have to do is email serena@elementalsoftware.co. We do have a special community package. So a lot of people would say, God, you know, at this time, you know, how would people afford to have digital? But people are building in as part of their monitoring and evaluation budget. They often build Elemental into that. It helps strengthen people's bids as well when they go for tenders or when they go for funding applications. One of the people that we've been working closely with said it was their USP whenever they applied for a big funding bid and they won it. It was a 5-year contract. So if you want to avail of that, give Cahir an email and we can get a one-to-one demo. We can talk about your organisation and see if and how we can help. So that hopefully has stayed within your time scale, boys and girls.
The pair of you can talk, there's no doubt about it. Like.
Oh, I'm out of breath.
Listen, absolutely fabulous, Kathy and Jennifer. Kathy, I've asked you to put on your mic, but absolutely brilliant, really, really, really good and really, really informative. So listen, can't thank you enough. There's a drill going on in the background, so I'd imagine everybody's picked up these different bits and pieces of issues throughout the last 4 months. Just want to come to a very specific question, and I'm going to put it to the pair of you. First of all, Jennifer, I can come to you. I mean, you've mentioned community development as your background, so you get it. It's your bread and butter. It's led you to Elemental, and congratulations on your success with that. But this will scare people. This stuff is just, it's scary if it's new, people are not familiar with it and they're thinking, oh, hang on, what does that mean? That sounds a wee bit, I'm not quite sure about that. It is clearly important. What would you say to those people who are looking at Elemental, looking at those sort of pieces of software that can really enrich their lives, particularly at this time, that might take the fear out of it?
I would say have a look at the challenges that you're facing, right? So digital shouldn't, forget about the digital and just think about the challenges and just say, what is it that you want to do? Is it that you want to support more people? Is it that you want to coordinate things better, is that you want to get easier. You've got lots of different funders. Are you having to do different funding reports for everybody? And is it doing your head in? And think about those challenges and come and have a chat with us, and we can show you different aspects to say, you know, it is scary, it is, but if you could, at a touch of a button, be able to pull off a report that shows where referrals are coming from, how many people you've helped, what the issues were, where they started with, where they are now, the types of things that they're benefiting from, that has to be a massive time saver for people. And if you think about what you invest in terms of your time to get to grips with this type of thing, it's really worth it, because you'll never get past all that administrative and there's so many things that you need to do in community development. It's people just think it's one thing, and then you've got a funder asking you for quite an impossible thing. Sometimes it enables you to go back to your funders and say, look, this is what it's telling us. Stop asking us for X, Y, and Z, because look at what we're learning here. So it gives you a bit of leverage, and you know, it really is. Kathy will tell you how easy it is to kind of get on board with it.
I think it's very simple, and obviously most of us are all aware in some level of being IT savvy. The thing is that we've never forgot what our core mission has been, and it's about helping others. And so to be able to do that more effectively, more efficiently, and in a consolidated approach, to be able to allow every stakeholder, including employees in our organization, to be part of a bigger picture, because I think the bigger picture should be shared to everyone and by as many people as possible. If you implement a digital strategy, then everyone has the view of what exactly is going on. There's nothing hidden from anyone, and it allows organic partnerships and relationships to grow. And it's about empowering individuals and communities and community organizations. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a far more collaborative way of working. So I wouldn't be afraid of it unless you're precious.
And like, even if you think of Leanne and I, like we were digital at all, and so when you see it and the system in action, you can see a lot of people say, God, you can tell that this has come from people who understand the community voluntary sector, because a lot of other companies, they're digital heads and techie heads, and they build things in a certain way, but ours was big, massive flip chart pages, and we just started mapping out what the journey could be, and then we would go around and speak to everyone and say, does that sound right? You know, would that be what you would want? So it has had the hands on and the feedback of lots of different stakeholders in community health and wellbeing.
Brilliant. Kathy, you're in Liverpool 20 years. You've never lost the accent?
No, I love my accent. I will never lose my last accent. I am proud.
Perfect. Listen, Jennifer, Kathy, can't thank you enough. It's been really, really informative. Really, really appreciate your time there this morning. And listen, just a couple of minutes over, so that's bang on. I can't thank you enough, and I hope that everybody listening has been able to take away some real good takeaways from that. We're going to finish up, but just briefly before we do, I'd like to bring back Eamon Sedek from S3 Solutions back on again, just to quickly round up for the next couple of minutes. One thing I should actually remember, or should actually suggest, is that this recording will be available. It will be sent to everyone who's on the email list who have registered for today's webinar, and you'll be able to look at it again. You know, the different bits and pieces that you particularly like, you'll be able to replay them and take whatever learnings from that. And also there'll be little snippets on social media from S3 Solutions. So if you need to follow up, there'll be a series of emails coming from S3 Solutions that will help that journey. Eamon, I guess you want to say thanks to everybody that took part, but like a really informative morning.
Brilliant, Thomas. Honestly, there's so many sort of standout takeaways for me, and I know we've only a couple of minutes, but I think it's worth highlighting some of the absolute openness of funders, you know, and the willingness of funders to kind of engage, talk, listen, and discuss ideas and changes for groups. So I think removing that fear from approaching funders and being approachable is key. I think clearly sort of engaging and talking to people remains crucial, you know, to identify needs in communities. I think especially as the emergency needs that COVID presented sort of begin to become more enduring issues and challenges for groups, as well as those sort of pre-existing challenges that have been amplified by COVID. I think it becomes even more important to kind of connect and engage with your communities. And we've seen through B4B and Log Me In many ways of doing this through digital and through technology. And the presentation from the girls was brilliant, you know, a real example of the impact that can have. And I think coming through from the questions and through the panel and others, the digital is only part of it, and I think people are keen that you don't lose that human side of things as well. I think that's something that came through really strongly from me. And from our end, look, planning ahead, developing a plan doesn't need to be fancy, doesn't need to be a big glossy document, but having a plan for your organization that reflects your core purpose, reflects the needs of the communities that you serve, reviews your capacity. I think that's key going forward. So look, from my end, it's been a real learning curve in terms of running the event. And look, you're right. I want to say firstly, thank you to yourself, Thomas, look, for hosting and running it for us. I think you've kept us more or less right the times. We really appreciate that. I've mentioned Patricia, who's organised the event. The speakers, really high caliber speakers, were brilliant. Some great information. And obviously all those that have taken the time out of their day to attend. Look, we genuinely, we really, really appreciate it. And we hope you've taken away some value and look forward to connecting with you again in the future.
So you'll be following up with some emails. I put myself on mute there right at the very end too.
Yeah, I think there'll be a few emails coming out. And look, one thing we would genuinely like people's feedback on the event. We're keen to get feedback and see how people found it, but there'll be a few emails coming out over the course of the next few days and weeks, just with some information, some follow-ups to the questions. And as I say, people can feel free to get in touch with ourselves or any of the panel speakers or organizations that are here. That's the one thing I'll say. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for advice. It's free to chat, and we're always willing to have a conversation.
And if people are willing to have a conversation with you guys, how best do they do that, Eamon?
They can connect with us through your social media. There's information on the websites. Give us a ring to the office. Anyway, we have a team here more than open to having conversations, and if we can direct you or signpost you in the right way or give some advice ourselves, we're happy to do that.
Okay, well listen, thanks Eamon. That's Eamon from S3 Solutions. Really, really appreciate your time. Thanks everybody for logging in and giving up your Thursday morning. I hope you found it beneficial, and to some extent it's helped you along this sometimes tricky funding path as it can be. But listen, thank you very much indeed. And as I say, everybody will have an opportunity to watch the webinar again, pick out their specific bits, and S3 Solutions will be in touch. But for the time being, thank you very much indeed, and have a brilliant day. Thank you.